Hey, hello. Welcome to the very first introductory episode of Conversations with Windmajik. That's me. I will be your host. Um, I am of the firm belief that there's, I don't know, without sounding corny, but I'm going to anyway, so fuck it. I think there's magic in every single day. And I
Ah,
think that when we share stories, we are sharing a little bit of our own magic and our own sparkles with other people. And growing up neurodivergent has given me it just basically means that I think differently. My brain processes things differently than other people. It is a huge part of who I am. I've learned that it has shaped my perspective and my view of the world a lot. Uh, It brought on a lot of trauma when I was younger, my very literal thinking, my inability to understand social norms, when to keep my mouth shut, when not to, when to repeat things that I've heard. Uh, it took me a long time to learn that just because something is true doesn't always mean that it needs to be said. For example, when I was in first grade, I had this particularly uh, horrible first grade teacher. She was what my mother and her friends would describe as an old maid. Um, she had never been married, she had never had children, and somehow she decided that her life's calling was first grade teacher. And she was just so mean. And I had a speech impediment. I would stutter. I didn't like to speak. I would literally, when I would hear myself get called on, I would feel my throat tighten up. It was just a horrible feeling. And because I would speak very softly all the time, she
highway
had me right up in front of the class,
display.
in front of everybody, so that she could hear me. And I overheard my mother speaking
Play.
about her to a few of her friends, and one of the ladies made a comment that she'd probably
Handling.
be happier if she just got a little now and then. Now, I was 5 years old. I had no clue what that meant. I just knew that the other ladies like laughed, they agreed. So in my little mind, this must be true.
Want to play?
And the next time that my first grade teacher scolded me and said, think about what you're saying before you
Come
speak
on, let's
if you
play.
won't stutter. I thought she seemed particularly miserable, so I wanted to impart this little bit of wisdom on her that I had heard from my mother and her friends. So I looked at her and I said,
Hey, Laura.
Maybe if you got a little now and then, you'd be happier. um, she didn't really appreciate my advice. She grabbed me by the arm, dragged me down to the principal's office, and made me repeat what I had said to him. At which point, his head turned purple. He was shaking. I thought he was having a seizure or a convulsion of some sort. I didn't know that he was trying to hold back his laughter. And he made me go sit outside. I thought that I had possibly angered my teacher and given my principal a heart attack. And I didn't really understand why. I was just trying to make her happier. So these were things that I've learned throughout my life not to share. Um,
Exciting.
I grew up in Vermont on a farm. We had a lot of animals, so I spent a lot of time in nature because animals I understood. You know, you just be nice to them, you be quiet, and they'll accept you. So I loved it, and I spent a lot of time there because I didn't understand the world around me that I was growing up in. Um, I grew My father wasn't a very nice person. Without going into a lot of detail, he was quite abusive. Um, in many ways, but I think the verbal abuse are the scars that you hold on to the longest. Well, for myself anyway, like they ring over and over in my head. And I shared this one night. I was doing a set called My Asshole Dad. And my asshole dad informed me as a young child that the best part of me ran down my mother's leg. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. He repeated this when I was an adult, and he was at my birthday party, my 21st birthday party. Um, he shared this thought with everybody that was at the party again, and still I didn't know what it meant. And all I knew was it made everybody feel really awkward. Like the whole room got quiet. It just made everything feel uncomfortable. I was instantly transported back to my childhood when I didn't understand what was happening, but I just knew that everything was fucking awkward. It wasn't until I was in a meeting after having a particularly busy night with my boyfriend the night before, and I hadn't put panties on that morning, and I stood up at the meeting to give my presentation that I all of a sudden realized what that saying meant. And I was like both horrified and at the same time, like all that could go through my head was like, oh my God, my father said this to me and I really should have made that last one a blowjob. Like that's just how my brain works. But somehow I still seamlessly continued to give this give this presentation. So I tend to compartmentalize a lot, and it has made me come across in many situations as being cold or uncaring. Um, it's not that I don't care. A lot of times I come across as cold or uncaring when I'm in an awkward situation and I don't know what to say and I don't want to say the wrong thing. Um, because in the past I have many times said the wrong thing. Um, but like say, with time comes an age, comes a little bit of wisdom, I would hope. Um, so I mean, as I move forward in the show, I'd like to be inviting guests that share their stories also, their stories, what's shaped them, things that are important. Everybody has things that are important to them, and I would love to talk about more things that I mean more than me being neurodivergent, because although that's a lot of what I'm hyper focusing on at the moment because it's still relatively new to me. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 48. I didn't accept it until I was 50 that, oh, wow, this might actually be an accurate diagnosis. When it was suggested to me that I go to be diagnosed, it was suggested by my son, who was in his late 20s and had finally been diagnosed. Um, I had always said, no, you can't have anything up with you. You're just like me and I'm fine. He wasn't. Neither was I. It did take, like I said, a lot of therapy to get through it. There's a grieving process involved with learning that had there been more awareness for this particular subject, my whole life could have been so much different. Not that I don't like my life. I love my life and I'm so happy, but uh, it involved a lot of trauma and a lot of things that I wouldn't have actually had to experience and really didn't need to. Um, they're great for comedy. They're great when it comes to writing comedy, when it comes to standing up on stage. But, um, things that I really didn't need to experience. And had there been more awareness for women having autism, the fact that you can have autism and ADHD because they present differently. This has become a big part of my life, is making people aware of it, that it doesn't look like you'd expect it to look. I can mask and nobody would know. My speech pattern changes, everything about me changes. I can look people in the eye. It's exhausting. Um, Most women who are on the spectrum go through their lives masking and trying to fit into normal society. Uh, Thankfully, there's more awareness is being brought to it. Um, and I can say that I am quite positive that mine was not caused by vaccines of any kind because my mom was an anti vaxxer. I was not vaccinated until I was 16 years old. Um, so in 1987 was when I was vaccinated, and it was the 80s, and I used an awful lot of Aquanet. So I do have a theory that if it wasn't the vaccinations, maybe it was all that Aquanet hairspray that I breathed in, and it might have had something to do with Metallica and Pantera. I'm not sure. Maybe that causes autism. Um, but as I started to say, but then I got off on a tangent. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm very passionate about, and whether it has to do with my neurodivergence or not, I don't know, but I embrace it. I love to camp. I love fishing. I write horror fiction. Um, I love listening to music because it amazes me. I am not musical at all. So anybody that has musical talent is just amazing to me that you can make your voices sound like something I would want to hear. Because when I try to do that with my voice, it's nothing that anybody ever wants to hear. um, but I like different social issues. I get very passionate about them. Um, I try not to be obnoxiously passionate about them, and I do try to remain open minded and open to you know new perspectives and being able to alter mine. It's not always the easiest thing for me to do. I can be very rigid. To me, when there's a rule, it's a rule, and you have to follow that rule. And it bothers me. Like, it bothers me when people don't follow the rules. I have learned not to be a tattletale, but oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I was that kid that everybody else just wanted to just shove in the locker or stick their head in the toilet and flush, give me a swirly. I was that obnoxious kid who told on everybody. I just had to, they were doing something wrong. It broke the rules. This one stepped out of line. Oh no, it's not, you know, I had to learn about what rules are actually important and what rules aren't. Um, I had to be a little less rigid thinking in my perception of lying because I realized that white lies, little kind lies, while they're still very, very difficult for me, I've learned to say other words. Um, I don't necessarily need to tell somebody, no, that dress makes you look like, my grandma wearing a circus tent. That doesn't need to be said. I could just say that's not the most flattering thing. Um, but white lies have always grated on me when somebody would tell me something like, oh yeah, that looks fine. And then I realized that it didn't. It makes me irrationally angry inside. But I've learned not to express that, and I've learned to stop that anger. It took therapy because I would lash out. I would get so angry and so bent out of shape over so many things. It was exhausting. um, especially when I also get into politics. And it doesn't matter if it's left or right. It doesn't matter. I mean, when you really like the rules are important, it bothers me so much. So I don't follow politics that much anymore. Um, I don't spend the energy on it. Um, but I would like to, with this show, create a welcoming space where, we can explore all kinds of topics, whether they're deeply personal, whether they're hilariously funny or whether it's just something that's just plain fucking fascinating. I mean, if there's like a rocket scientist in the room, eh, you want to talk about, rockets and stuff, that's cool. You know, if you're really into trains, I'll give you 10 minutes. Um, if you're really into camping, you've got 45 minutes. I might take up 30 of those. Um, would anybody like to add, share, have any questions, anything? Crow, I want to thank you for coming. You're on mute, but I want to thank you for coming because
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so happy. My hand is stuck to my key thing, so there it is.
It's good to see you here. Wink, I'm happy to see you. Wink is one of the people that I have met in real life from VR. We had an awesome time camping over the summer. One day, I won't do that to her today. I'll get her up here on stage to to share about our camping experiences. And we're going to be going to Montreal in December also, so that'll be fun. Yay. Canada may never be the same. They may never be. They may be begging to become the 51st state after we've been there because they'll be like, hey, if everybody's like them, I mean, it might be okay. So, hey, Camp Boy's here. We've got actually a lot of people here. I'm so happy. And Red Panda, I have to say thank you so much because I know you had a hell of a day. And you came in here early. And Stephen, thank you, World Creator, for making me my set. And hopefully in the future, there will be somebody else sitting over there. So it won't be just me up here running a monologue and talking about myself, which I'm actually finding is a little harder to do. I've been up here and I've told so many stories on so many stages, and all of my comedy is based in reality. However, I do have to let everybody know that I'm not quite as crazy as I do make myself sound. I mean, the super glue story it is based in reality. The super glue story about my husband's penis and super glue is based in reality. But it wasn't a condom, and it was his leg. His inner Yes. Yes. I don't know what I was thinking, but we had separate bedrooms. I walked into his bedroom. I will tell the real story of the super glue. So now I don't know what I was thinking. I truly don't. I walked into his bedroom. He was laying in his bed naked. He had an erection. He was on his side. His leg was up, kind of, and the erection was laying against his leg. And I had a tube of nail glue in my pocket. And I just, for some reason, just thought it would be funny. And you know how you get those moments where that happen in life where it's like, it's just a flash of, oh, I could do this. It would be really funny, but you don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned something like this to Steven the other night. Like you get these, sometimes they're really sick. Like you could be standing on the platform waiting for the train and you see somebody and you just want to, you wouldn't actually do it. You wouldn't do it. I mean, I really need to make that clear. You would never actually, but you just get that. Well, that happened to me when I saw the erection on the leg and I had the tube of nail glue in my pocket, which was also in my hand. And I just took it out and I just squeezed it over his penis. And several minutes later, I'm in my room and I hear screaming and yelling and cursing. And I go running in, and like he's not gonna know what happened. Like he had a fucking wet dream and jizzed super glue on his leg. No. I mean, he's straight, and it was stuck. It was completely adhered to his leg. He couldn't straighten his leg, or he would have torn his
Shit.
skin. So, and oh, I knew I was going to be in a lot of trouble, but we got a blanket over the top of him, and he somehow managed to, leaning on me, get out to the car. We got him into the emergency room, and they did make me talk to a. They did make me talk to a psychiatrist. They did actually have me in a separate room away from him.
Wow.
He was in a room. There wasn't really a whole audience in there. He did have burns from the solvent and from the super glue
Oof.
on his penis and his inner thigh. And I was held for 48 hours in the psychiatric ward
Ugh.
to make sure that I wasn't a Looney Tune. And hey, guess what? I'm not crazy. I got out. 48 hours they held me for, so I was there all weekend. The food sucked. The people were
I guess they
weird.
slept with the door closed, locked now, huh?
Well, he is my ex-husband.
What, because of that?
No, because you'd think so, though, wouldn't you? But after that, we produced a child.
Oh, it still
Wow.
worked then. Yeah.
It still worked. It still worked. Yes, after that, we produced a child. So, I mean, he dared actually, go there again. It was quite surprising. So, I mean, while some of my comedy is based in reality, I just felt like the real story made me sound
Did
a
you meet
little bit
Lorena?
too nuts.
Did you meet Miss Bobbitt?
I never did. I never did. But me getting super glue in my eye years later and being in the same hospital
Oh.
and having a nurse telling me
Karma.
about this crazy lady who had super glued her husband's penis and that it had been in the newspaper and that she had said she was incarcerated, then she went to the loony bin, and so that didn't happen. But I mean, the story had grown exponentially, but I mean, she did actually tell me the story of what I had done 7 years later. So I was like, hey, I'm winning. I'm an urban legend now in a little corner of Connecticut. I am a legend. And I was pretty proud of that. So that was one of the first stories I ever shared in VR and up on stage. See, and another thing too is that ADHD comes with info dumping. You find yourself dumping the most personal information on people, like people that you barely know. You will tell them the most personal things. And another reason I love comedy is I've learned it's okay to do that up on stage. Like I've told people about shitting myself as I'm running down the street in a strange town, and it's okay because I'm on stage. Like it's not acceptable if I'm out in polite society at like a cocktail party. I can't tell a story about shitting myself and the guy rescuing me giving me a pair of sweatpants that says juicy on the ass because it would be in poor taste. But I can get up on stage and people laugh and it's amazing. And that's part of why I love comedy so much because I can just share all this crazy stuff. I can info dump, I can trauma dump, and it's funny. And people actually come and watch me do it on purpose. Like they're not like cringing and trying to get away. It's bizarre to me. It feels weird, but it also feels pretty amazing sometimes. So, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do with this show. In a nutshell, that's a little bit about me and my weirdness. I want to thank everybody who showed up to this episode of Conversations with Windmajik. If you have any thoughts, questions, ideas for future conversations, I'd love to hear from anybody. And stay tuned for upcoming guests and topics. And I promise to be hopefully a little bit more put together, not as headset weary, because I did a podcast just before this for my next show. And follow me and the Scenic Club on all the socials, and follow my YouTube channel, Windmajik. All episodes will be uploaded to my YouTube channel. And until next time, keep the magic alive.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Whee!
Yay! Thank you all for coming so much. You guys are the best. Thank